Well, two West Michiganders are headed to D.C. next week to advocate for heart health. We've got Trenton and Remy here joining us this morning. Thank you guys for being here. So tell us a little bit about what's going on that's taking you from Michigan over to D.C.
Yeah, so we are headed to Washington, D.C. next week with people from all over the country for the American Heart Association to advocate on behalf of the HEARTS Act, which is a bill that was passed last year by President Biden, but it has not yet been funded. And the bill specifically is encouraging cardiac emergency response plans in schools all over the country. So that is a plan where there are a certain amount of AEDs located in schools, a certain amount of people trained in CPR, and an overall awareness about heart disease, heart health, and CPR in these schools to better hope that the outcomes for a cardiac arrest in a school setting, whether it's a student, a teacher, a staffer, a parent, or a visitor, will end up in a save rather than a cardiac arrest death.
Oh, yes. I mean, such important stuff. And of course, this is something that's very personal to you. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, it is. I wasn't they didn't use an AED or CPR on me, but it's all about response and critical thinking without much time on decisions. And multiple people like nurses and doctors use that for my case. So that's why it's really important to me.
Can you tell us a little bit, if you don't mind sharing a little bit more of your backstory?
Yeah, I had heart failure this past January. The common cold caused heart failure. And 12 days later, I received a new heart transplant. So a lot of critical thinking and a lot of fast decisions were made, not only by doctors and nurses, but my best friend, Chase Kensinger. That's a shout out. And just people that kept me alive.
Yeah, so Trenton, too, when you're talking about this happened back in January, this happened because of a common cold.
Yeah.
I'm sure this wasn't something you were expecting necessarily.
No, not really.
Yeah, something that a lot of people, I'm sure, also wouldn't expect. Can you talk about the importance of really knowing what's happening with heart health just in general and how it can affect anybody?
Sure, yeah, I've seen the term pretty often, let's get hands on hearts. And it really didn't mean too much to me until January. And yeah, it's something I didn't expect, and it's something you really can't expect on many cases. So that's why I think this HEARTS Act is very important, and that's why we're going to D.C. next week.
All right, give us a little bit more detail on the HEARTS Act in general and what that kind of means, the impacts it has.
Yeah, so again, this is a cardiac emergency response plan, which means that we are going to be having a certain amount of AEDs in schools. So it's based on population, campus size, where the access to the closest one is. If you've got to really think of like Rockford High School, for example, that place is massive. They've got 2 different campuses. If you only have one AED, that's way on the far end of campus and somebody is in cardiac arrest in the freshman center, for example, every minute means that a life can be saved. And the likelihood of you surviving cardiac arrest because of CPR and AEDs, it increases your chances of survival by 30 or 40%. So the quicker access we can get to those AEDs is the biggest piece. Again, portions of that plan are a certain amount of staff are trained on CPR, and the plan is also put in place of everybody knowing where the AEDs are on site, knowing who is CPR certified, knowing where the ambulance can access the building to, all of these sorts of things that would happen in a school setting. And so it will be, hopefully, once the HEART Act is funded, every single school in America will have this plan in place in the event that a cardiac arrest takes place on their campus.
Yeah, so with the HEARTS Act already being passed but not funded, is there much that's really able to be done with the HEARTS Act yet, or is it really that funding that will help to put that plan into action?
It's exactly that funding. So obviously with the shutdown right now, it's tricky, but we are still going. We are still planning to meet with lawmakers, which we're excited to really maybe have their undivided attention because they aren't going to be sitting in session right now, so it's kind of a pro for us. But yeah, we're just waiting on that funding. So the second we get that written in and that the funding is given to us, we're going to get rolling and get those SERPs put in place.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could, tell us a little bit like what your pitch is going to look like to these lawmakers when you're there.
Trenton, what would you say?
Yeah, I would say just my personal experience. I think that's pretty powerful. And like I said, it's not something I expected or anybody around me expected.
Yeah.
But I think it's created a bit of a story to tell and for uses like this. Yeah. So I would use my personal experience.
I think also you're a teacher and a coach.
I think
that's a huge piece of it as well. And you've seen cardiac arrests happen in gym settings and school settings,
Yep.
and saves being happened. And so that's another piece where people think, oh, well, I'm not a teacher, or I don't have kids that are in school. Why should this matter for me? Well, if you go watch your niece or nephew play basketball, or if you go to your granddaughter's theater performance, you might be in a setting in which this CERT plan could benefit you or somebody you know. So that's the biggest piece as well.
100%. And people might not always think of kids when they think of these critical life-saving measures that need to be taken.
Yeah.
Right.
But it happens, and it can happen to anybody at any time.
Yeah, we had 7 saves last year in the state of Michigan alone because of schools that were prepared and either had a full CERT plan or had an AED on campus. One little girl, I shouldn't say she's little, she's 14, but over on the east side, this spring was saved by her track teacher or her track coach. She went into cardiac arrest out on the track. He knew exactly where the AED was, and the other assistant coach knew how to perform CPR. So he jumped in, performed CPR. The other coach went and grabbed the AED, and they were able to save her life.
Wow.
Yeah, really important stuff here. How can we keep up with what you guys are going to be doing in DC and, of course, support you too through all of this?
Yeah, so the first thing, obviously, follow us on social media. Our Michigan account is AHA Michigan. So we'll be posting a lot of stuff there. Our national account is just the American Heart Association. We'll have a lot of postings on there as well. But I'm specifically going to capture content for the entire Midwest, so I'm very excited. We have over 30 advocates just from the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, you know, all over the place. So we're excited to hear their stories. A lot of people like Trenton who maybe had a heart transplant or other CPR survivors, other people who perform CPR to save somebody else's life. So a lot of diversity there in that group. But yeah, we're excited to have you guys follow along at home and happy to, you know, fingers crossed, get in front of these people and get this funded.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you both so much for taking the time out of your day to be here and for going and advocating for all of the Midwest and really all of the country, because these are things, you know, that really need to be put into place for everybody's safety.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
coming